Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. Our special guest today is Dorothy Martin from the band Dorothy.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
Big show tonight at Pierre's here in Fort Wayne. And you're coming off a day off, so you must be all relaxed and rested.
Oh yeah, a much needed day off.
Nice, nice. So, congratulations. Top 10 single, Flawless. And the new album, 28 Days in the Valley, is getting out there as well. You guys are getting a lot of attention.
It feels so good.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. So tell us a little bit of the story. How did you get into the business, and how did you get to this point?
You know, I don't really know how. I wanted to write. I love writing. I've been singing since I was probably 6 years old to my dad's record collection. We had, everything from Pink Floyd to Michael Jackson. And I listened to a lot of Motown and oldies and Bob Dylan. So, I didn't catch the writing bug until my teens. I picked up a guitar and a tab sheet, with like chords, because I'm visual. So I saw the pictures of how to put your fingers on the chords and started learning how to play, simple songs and writing from there. So, and then getting into the industry, well, that was a challenge. There's a lot of noise and a lot of just ridiculous people, especially in Los Angeles. So I had to kind of, draw straws and just like, who do I know and work, how can we collaborate and work together? And I found a manager and started writing with some producers. And as everything progressed and evolved, I had a couple different lineups, but I knew I wanted to do a rock and roll band because it's just in my blood. It feels right to me. It's what I grew up on, and I just feel. And even a little bit of country is how I learned how to sing. So I put the band together and we started touring. Hailstorm took us on tour, and that was such a wonderful experience. And then eventually I got to the point where I'm like, well, I need to do a sophomore album. So I reached out to Linda Perry, and her and I are so alike, and so she's so artist driven. And I felt safe with her, so we decided to, launch this project. And I love the guys in my band. They're incredible musicians, incredible writers. We have great chemistry together. They did the whole record with me in her studio, and she has endless vintage gear and amazing microphones, and just it was a great experience. And we filmed the whole thing, documentary style. So. We'll see where that goes. Nice,
yeah. I thought it was interesting talking to the guys in the band earlier. They were saying that the band actually got together before the album, before you started working on recording the project, and so you were kind of doing a live show almost, song by song by song over the course of the day.
Yeah, we did pre-production. We got into a room and we just started playing music, and these songs started happening, and we were able to discern pretty quickly what would go on this album and what sounded like old Dorothy. Or didn't quite fit the story. So this journey from, being in a dark place spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, to getting healthy and recovering was kind of the story of the album, and based on my life and my experiences. So we kind of wanted to put this lighter, more beautiful piece of art together, and it started taking shape. And I think it's just a really great road trip album, takes you somewhere.
Right. So. It's awesome. So, were you and Linda writing together?
Yes.
On that, and tell us about that process. How did you do that?
Oh, that's my favorite part of this, is sitting down and just letting a song happen, either from your subconscious or you're pulling it from a magical place nobody knows.
Right.
I feel like when an artist gets too cerebral and in their head, they interrupt the creative process. And she's taught me so much about it, to really go with your instincts. I'm a very good intuitive writer. So when I feel something happening and the words start pouring into my mind, I write them down, and it's almost like a channeling session. It's very strange, but it's, I get goosebumps, and that's how We Are Stars was written. She had the acoustic guitar. It was just her and I at nighttime in the studio. Everybody had gone home, and she's like, I have this idea. She starts strumming, we are stars, we are stars. And the verses just came to me, and it was about this story of how we're more than just, you know, our body. We're more than just people. We have spirit, we have energy. And that was a message I think that, you know, a lot of people do really need to hear.
Sure.
I believe in it, certainly, because I've had wonderful experiences. So I love when songs like that happen. And Flawless happened in a similar way, but that was more like autobiographical. I was just talking about, you know, past relationship and something I needed to deal with emotionally. So that helped me. You know, and I have that same chemistry with the band. We'll sit down, or at sound check, they'll start riffing, and songs will just come out. And it's a really beautiful thing to experience.
Right, right. So at what point in the process, when you had the songs, did you bring the band into it, or did you take the songs to the band?
They were there the whole time.
Okay.
They were there. So, you know, we're a band. We're a real rock and roll band, and we're going to write like one. So that's why we did the pre-production and got in a room and just jammed, and songs started happening. And then Linda would come in and go, I like that. That fits. You know, I think this chorus needs to lift here. And then she would come co-write with us. And then we would have sessions in her studio, acoustic guitar, piano, just writing like songwriter style.
Right.
And so it's a mix of everything. And then the band played the entire record live together in the studio while I was in the vocal room. We called it the Goddess Den. It was
Nice.
covered in candles and cactuses and this desert, beautiful energy we wanted to create, you know. So I sang the record live with them. And then I went back for vocal week. And as a vocalist, I have to say this is the most challenging thing I've ever done, you know. And there was days where my voice was tired or whatnot. But we got it done so quickly that we titled it 28 Days in the Valley, because we recorded the songs we had written in about a month.
Right.
You know, and then it went off and got mixed and mastered and that sort of thing. But I'm just so surprised at how fast it all happened.
Right, right, right. Well, when you're tracking live, things will flow a little more in that way, without having to piece everything together and auto-tune everything and no time correct
None of
everything.
That.
Right.
We don't mess with any of that. You know, there's no auto-tune. Linda doesn't play that way. You know, she's such a real producer and real artist, and we want to generate as much feeling in the music as we can.
Right. It's one of the things that's refreshing about the album. Listening to it is you can feel that energy of a band actually playing together in a room, and I think that really comes across.
Good.
Because the production also supports that. It was very well produced from that standpoint. So was it then a big challenge to take that from the studio to the stage?
Not so much. We did some rehearsals. What I love about music is you write a song, you record it, and then you start playing it live, and it becomes a whole nother thing. You know, you really get to know your music when you play live. And I think, you know, the next time around we do an album, I think what I'll do is we'll write as many songs as we can, we'll choose the songs, and I think what we should do is go play them live before we record them. That's a different approach I've never done. Right. Because I find nuances with my voice that are interesting, and phrasing, and how I sing something or how I generate an emotion. So you know, when we play it live, it's not a challenge. That's such a fun part of it. The energy of the crowd influences the band and vice versa. You know, to see them so excited is the most rewarding thing ever. We were in Lansing, Michigan, and the entire front row of audience, there were young girls, there were children at this show, and little kids screaming every word from this album. Wow. And I'm like, wow, they know the words, all of them.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
That's great. That's great. So the guys were telling me again earlier that the show's actually, there's a lot of improvisation, and it's not like you're just playing, you're not just karaokeing the record. So tell us about that approach. What drives you, and what gives you the creative directions that you take on stage?
Well, the band and I have very good chemistry. They're incredible musicians. We tend to feel what we're doing and improvise. There's no click track. There's no, there's a loose structure. I know some artists go up and they don't even have a set list, which is amazing, and I hope we get there, but we get lost in this ethereal place of just creating sounds and music, and there are some really trippy, psychedelic, cool moments without any drugs. So It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's great. So who were your influences coming up to want to work in that style of music?
You know, my influences ranged from Bob Dylan, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross and the Supremes. I love Michael Jackson. He's probably my favorite artist of all time. Because he wrote pop songs, but if you watch him and listen to him, he's like a rock star.
Sure.
So that really grabbed me when I was a kid, you know. I loved to watch him. And the first thing I ever heard was Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd and The Great Gig in the Sky. So I have a very eclectic, you know, taste in music. Country, you know, I learned how to sing because I was listening to Dolly Parton and LeAnn Rimes, and, you know, I grew up in the 90s. So I learned how to yodel.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, if I can yodel, I can do anything.
There you go.
And, you know, then I was like, give me all the great female singers, Janis Joplin and Whitney Houston and Celine Dion and Nina Simone. And I just started absorbing their sounds and trying to imitate them. So my voice learned flexibility and different nuances and how to produce different sounds. And it wasn't until, you know, I really did the first album that I found my sound and my voice, because before it was overly saccharine and sweet but no real substance behind it. And I think that as a singer, you have to have your heart broken a few times to have an interesting voice or something. There has to be something behind the sound.
Sure, and that also carries over to the songwriting.
I hope so.
as well, right. So we've talked a lot about the band, but I'm curious, when you were putting the project together and you said, okay, we need a band to do this, what were you looking for from the players?
You know, guys that could play really well, that loved music, and that looked cool.
That looked cool.
Yeah,
right.
it looked cool because, you know, we're showmen.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, guys that could play well, that I got along with. And, you know, I went through a lot of trial and error, and Linda helped me put this band together. Actually, Elliot, my bass player, was my original bass player and had to go off and do another project, and we went through some changes. And I really believe in the power of manifestation, because I went to Piano Bar in Los Angeles and I saw Eli Wolfmeyer playing guitar in this little, you know, divey, cool rock and roll bar in the corner. Great musicians, like Nashville quality musicians, right?
Right.
And I at the time I had my lineup. I think I was looking for a new guitar player, and I was like, I really want this guy in my band, man. He looks great, he plays great, I just love his vibe. It didn't work out at the time. But then when I got to working with Linda, she's like, you know what? You need a whole new band. It's a fresh start. And I agreed with her. I was like, yeah, you know, this isn't working. So let's make a change and take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, let me think about it. She's very good at putting energies together. She's good at reading people. She's like, I have people that you will really get along with. Let me reach out to them. And I said, then I called her up maybe a week later, and I said, you know what? I saw Eli Wolfmeyer playing. I really want him in my band. And she goes, that's funny, because he's already in your band.
Nice.
And it was just like, oh, and I have Elliot and then Jason and Owen. It's like the perfect combination of people.
It's a great combination, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jason and Owen were already doing sessions for Linda. They had already been doing some work for her,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
So they were in her wheelhouse, in her circle, and we all just get along. There's no issues. Everyone loves each other, and it's just like a dream. I pinch myself every day.
Right. That's great. That's what it should be, right?
There's no egos.
Right. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you, especially for a vocalist, taking care of yourself on the road can be a real challenge, and you sing hard. I mean, so you have to protect your voice and
Sounds like I
maintain
sing
that.
hard.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, is how you kind of manage that.
Well, I try not to push. I've taken a lot of training from different teachers. I employ what I've learned, and I can feel if something's working for me or it isn't. You know, and then there's things like, you're an athlete, you have to take care of your body, what you're eating, are you exercising, are you sleeping enough? Water, tons of water, keeping, you know, the bus a little humid in the back lounge where I like to warm up. I have a humidifier. And don't get me wrong, you know, once in a while I'll have a cigarette, but I don't drink and I'm sober, and that has made the biggest difference in my life and in my voice and in my creativity. You know, people have this misconception that you have to be a little buzzed or loose or messed up to write, and you know, the best ideas come to me. I don't plan them. They come when they come. And you have to be kind of clear and open to receive them. So that was the best decision I ever made. And, you know, as much as I love Janis Joplin, I don't want to go that route.
Right. Right. Yeah. You want a long career and a long life.
And save my voice. And you should be
voice.
able to sing for years and years.
Right. 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 One of the things that I find intriguing about the band is that you mentioned, we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that you'll be doing some gigs with Greta Van Fleet. And like them, you guys are kind of at the forefront of a resurgence in rock bands that play and get out and do shows. Tell us a little bit about the reception of the band on that level and what you're seeing from the crowds that are coming to see you.
You know, the Greta Van Fleet audience are nuts.
Yeah.
They are the most fun, rowdy, all ages, wholesome, real music lovers. They just want rock and roll so bad, you know? And this brighter, lighter, spiritual rock and roll, you know? So we have a lot of influence from the 60s and 70s psychedelic rock movement. And I think that that's refreshing. And I think that they are really resonating with that and very receptive to that. So, you know, the Greta guys are the sweetest, most humble, amazing people. And it's just a pleasure touring with them. And their fans are incredible. Their fans now come to our shows, you know, and they're real supportive.
Right. Well, like I say, I think it's just exciting to see the return of rock and roll and of bands playing and everyone playing an instrument and singing.
Yeah.
And everybody in the band sings. You got five parts going at choruses and things, which is huge sounding. So that's all very cool.
We're trying to be the Eagles one day.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on all the success. Again, top 10 with Flawless, and
Thank
28
you.
Days in the Valley is the new record. And everyone, I still call them records. Everyone
So
should,
do I.
Everyone should pick that up, right?
Thank you,
And,
yeah.
and check you guys out. You guys are headed to Chicago next for Lollapalooza, and you're doing some additional gigs while you're there. So congratulations on all your success. It was great to meet you.
Nice to meet
Appreciate you
you.
taking time with us.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher.
You gave nothing to put my heart out on the table. I wasn't